Hello, everyone. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
And today we're going to tell you how we felt about Blade Runner 2049. As you can tell, Eric and I are doing this in a somewhat different format tonight. We have decided that we're going to start posting these immediately after we see movies, because that's kind of the idea in the first place. This is Eric's idea, and I was like, oh, yeah. This really is probably how we should be doing this. So we wanted the bells and whistles of how we felt about with the intros and stuff, but it'll be really nice to immediately get these up after we've come back from a movie. So we're going to record these with the webcam and through Google+, but not actually broadcast them live. But once we're finished with this, we will immediately toggle it to live, and everybody will be able to see it.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and get into it. The sequel, the long-awaited, but the thing I never thought I would see before it was announced, sequel to Blade Runner, 35 years later.
Yep.
And absolutely baffling that we're talking about this now. I still can't get my mind around the fact that there is a Blade Runner sequel. And now that I've seen it, really can't get my mind around the fact that I mean, I guess I'll go ahead and just come out right out and say that we not only have a Blade Runner sequel, but one that looks so authentically Blade Runner to me. Was really super impressed with the production of this movie. It's wild and nuts that this exists. Eric is probably going to be doing a lot more of the talking tonight than me, because he's much more familiar with Blade Runner than I am, and I honestly don't feel remotely qualified to start talking about this yet. So this will be very much in the spirit of what the show always has been, especially for me, where I will just tell you very briefly how I felt about this, and then I feel like I really need to give it another watch before I have really a sense of what I really think about it and being able to do any sort of analysis at all. Eric, do you want to tell us a little bit about the story of this film?
How do I do that without spoiling it?
Yeah.
I mean, because nothing of the story is in any trailers or anything.
That's a good point. It's also going to be difficult to talk about it at all without giving any of those things away.
I can talk about the initial setup, which is that it is set 30 years after Blade Runner. The Tyrell Corporation has gone away because replicants were made legal, and then another corporation kind of. Are you just going to give us the words at the beginning? You're just going to give us the intertitle at the beginning? And then they brought back replicants, but are now supposed to be like super obedient. There's no risk of them going rogue, and the people that hunt them are still called Blade Runners.
For some reason, can we? And that's still hysterical, and I love how straight we play that. That's what they're called. Can we? Do you not even want to spoil what the replicants turn out to be able to do now? That
I mean, that's a big major plot
thing, but it's also kind of the like setup of the film. You know, it's kind of the scenario of the whole thing. I mean, it's like in the first 15 minutes, is it not?
I don't know. This film has control of time.
Okay,
I don't know how long or how short we spent in that.
That's
theater.
A really good point. Yeah, almost a sensory deprivation experience.
So do you want to do slight spoilers possibly for just the premise?
I think we ought to, because otherwise we're going to spend this whole video just going, I don't know if I should say that.
Okay, so discover that Tyrell was able to make replicants that can procreate.
They can reproduce, yeah.
And at the end of the first film, when Deckard runs off with
Rachel.
With Rachel.
Yeah.
With Rachel, they have a child together.
Apparently they had a child together, yeah.
And it's the first one of these ever. And it's somewhere.
And we should also mention that that Harrison Ford's character, Deckard, is not the main character of the film. He's very much, I mean, like, he's kind of the linchpin of the whole thing. But we don't meet him until actually quite a while later. And
yeah, it's like the start of the third act.
Yeah,
which is interesting because that's the first trailer we got.
Yeah,
was them meeting.
But that makes a lot of sense, because of course you're going to sell your film on that.
Yeah.
But the actual real protagonist of the film is a replicant who is a Blade Runner, and I mean we should probably mention that.
Yeah.
And that he's trying to figure out this mystery, and it's very much a detective story, just like the first one was. But I would say much more involved and much more about the mythology of this universe than that first movie, if that's fair to say.
Yeah, I think it. For a lot of this movie, I was like, oh, this is someone who really loved Blade Runner and really wanted to, had spent time thinking about the universe outside of the film.
Yeah.
And really was like, okay, well, what would this be like? And where would that go?
Yeah, there's a lot of new world building Most certainly, which is a really complex thing to do, given that you're 30 years after the fact. So, like after the first one. Mm-hmm. So not only are you expanding different areas of this world and different aspects of the society and what they would look like, but also from the future of where we were before, which is really interesting because I mean, we should mention that this is, of course, not extrapolating from today. It's very much now an alternate history that leads us to this Blade Runner future. And so initially, that first movie is like 30, 35 years from where we were then. And then this is as many years from that to now. And so, like, figuring out how you're going to realize that world, I think, is much more complicated than if you just went back to 2019 in the first movie and extrapolated and set it there again. Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
Well, let's go ahead and get into our boards. Eric, how did you feel about the sequel to Blade Runner?
Blade Runner 2049 made me feel like I was watching a science fiction film for adults. Nearly everything I could ask for in the sequel.
Oh, wow, really? So you were that happy with it?
I love this film.
Wow, cool.
I have questions about it.
Me too.
I have some reservations about one thing. It's a little big. That is my one reservation. It's a little big. But I adored this film. It might be my favorite film I've seen this year.
Really?
I loved this movie. It's kind of perfect as a sequel. Like with the exception of it gets a little big, it's everything I kind of wanted from a Blade Runner sequel. It's really authentic.
You know what it reminded me of a little bit? Not that it's like this film, but just in its authenticity and its timelessness. It's like Fury Road.
Yes, it's exactly like Fury Road. I really liked this movie. I thought it was great. I thought all the performances were great. I thought the world building was great.
Incredible. Like, I don't know how much this movie cost to make, but like whatever that number is, it's all on the screen.
We have a couple of things that I've never seen before. We have some stuff with holograms.
That's the big thing I was going to mention is that there's ideas with sentient holograms and just like stuff you can do with holograms that I've never seen before.
Well, and just visually, there's stuff where like, so Ryan Gosling's character Kay or Joe. He has this hologram girlfriend who is not solid or traditional see-through. She's kind of sometimes both, and like
there's a piece of technology that can make her like more solid.
Yeah,
and allow her to, it's almost like a portable generator or something.
Yeah, but like there's always a part of her that you can kind of
like a really clunky mobile emitter,
but not in a way I can describe. Like normally where it's see-through. She's not that, but sometimes you can see the window behind her, but she's still solid. I can't really explain it. I've never seen that.
And honestly, I thought that was one of the most impressive performances in the film.
I agree. And the sinking scene was amazing.
Yeah.
I also think it's the most impressive CGI recreation of a person I've ever seen. And it's weird that
you're talking about later in the film.
I'm talking about later in the film.
I'm not going to agree with that.
Tarkin?
I'm not with you on that. I thought it was on the same level.
Really?
Yeah. I thought it was on the same level.
I thought
it was creepy, and I was trying not to laugh at it.
Okay, I did not have that.
It looked as good as I've ever seen it, but not better than I've ever seen it.
Oh, see, I thought that was better than I've ever seen it. It's still not perfect, but I was better.
In this context over Tarkin, I was fine with it. It made plenty of sense of where it was, but I didn't think it looked like perfectly real or anything. Like
I thought it looked the closest to perfectly real as I've seen. Smart to never put her on the screen with anybody else's face.
That was part of the reason, though, that I didn't think it was really it was really there. That we just kept jumping back and forth. It was just like the Tarkin thing, where it's like and see that like people are gonna complain to me where it's like you're never gonna be happy with a CG real person's face cap. Yeah, I don't know that I ever will. Like I said, in this context, it wasn't Tron Legacy. Like it made perfect sense that it looked the way it did. I thought in the context, but like I wasn't like super impressed with it.
I thought this looked like a 5-year jump from Tarkin. I thought this was head and shoulders leaps and bounds above Tarkin.
Wow. Okay.
If I have any complaint aside from the fact that this film just feels a little too big is
now, let me ask you though, why is that a problem? Like what does too big mean, if you can elaborate?
I mean, it's not a problem, but we hit one specific thing where I was like, here, like that's okay. I'm just gonna, because you'll know what I'm talking about, but it's not a spoiler.
Yeah,
there's a cult, and when we got to the cult, I was like, for this, it didn't need that. It's
universe shattering.
Yeah, and we're kind of told multiple times
it does push that a little bit, especially with Jared Leto's character.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, do you ever have this? I just want to say this really quick. Do you ever have this where, like you'll see an actor you know, but it won't occur to you that you know them, and then you see it in the credits later, and you're like, oh yeah, that's right, that's who that was. I had that with Jared Leto in this. I wasn't even thinking about him, and then and then his credit popped up, not with his character name or anything. Oh yeah, that's who that is. Okay. He was great.
Yeah, I agree.
He was wonderful.
I agree. The one real complaint I have, aside from I just think it gets a little too big, is and I'm not really sure. Like, I need to see this film like 3 or 4 more times before I can really have opinions on ideas.
Mark it on your calendar, because it takes some time.
Yeah. But and I never felt like it didn't deserve its runtime.
I'm not fully sure about that.
Okay, that's right. My worst thing would be with Blade Runner, we have kind of one of the best cinematic villains of all time in Roy Batty, and this didn't really have that. The girl was okay, but she was nowhere near as fleshed out or as complex as Roy was.
Part of my issue with the runtime, because I feel like, I'm going to be cryptic, but I feel like when we get to the big action scene with her toward the end, it goes on too long, and it treats it like I should care, like I should be more impressed with her as a bad guy than I am. That's part of my issue with how long it runs. That's fair. Just that scene. But I think
that scene was a little. If there's anything that runs long in that, it's that. Like, there was a point I was like, just get out of the water.
That's where I was with it. Yeah, but I do feel like Leto's character gets close.
Yeah,
he's super creepy and messed up, and yet I get his side and why he does what he does. And there's the first time we see him, it's really mortifying.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Him as the Roy Batty, because he's kind of.
Well, I wasn't thinking of as that, but I'm just saying like if you're talking about just like strictly antagonistic characters, he came alive for me most certainly.
No, he's great. He's great. But yeah, no, I really love this movie. I thought that was wonderful. I am not anywhere near able to like really discuss this movie.
Yeah.
But I thought it was wonderful.
This movie made me feel totally enraptured, especially with the world. It's beautiful, and it sucks you in.
Kind of cursive, but not exactly cursive. It's very fancy. That's great.
Oh, really? That's just kind of my handwriting.
Is it? You have some loops and stuff that I don't feel like traditionally go with.
Well, maybe I've just never written a Y on my board. Maybe that's what happened. I'll get my worst stuff out of the way first, because I think maybe I have more immediate criticisms than you do.
Sure.
I don't know that this is something that you could really do anything differently with, but it took me out a little bit. Harrison Ford's character never felt like the same guy to me.
That's fair, but I have that with. I went in knowing that because Harrison Ford is somehow not the same person he was.
Yeah,
Han Solo is the same way.
See, the thing is, I don't have that with Han Solo. I felt like he somehow, or rather, in the new Star Wars movie, was able to jump right back in that, and it felt like a crotchety version of that character. But he was just Han Solo again. Didn't have that here.
He's not.
But
not exactly.
30 years have passed, and he's in a totally different place, and obviously he's been through a lot since then. So I want to give it that, but at the same time, I kept having to remind myself that I was looking at the same character. And in preparation for this, because it had been a long time since I'd seen Blade Runner, I watched Blade Runner again today, and I think that made it worse. Like everything else, otherwise, watching it at the same day, like watching this as a double feature, if you can handle it, because it's a long stretch. I mean, Blade Runner nearly every cut is only 2 hours, but it feels longer than that. This is 2:45. I mean, it's a really long movie, and but I mean, earns it more than some other long movies we've reviewed recently. Yeah, sure, yeah. Let's bring that up at the same time as we're talking about this movie. That was the thing. I did question the length of certain scenes. There were places where I felt like it was the pacing was almost too deliberate or too slow just because it's Blade Runner and that's how you do Blade Runner. There were certain places where like even the opening scene where I didn't feel like there was any reason that it needed to be quite that stretched out. And I got a little bit antsy until I started realizing like interesting story points and stuff. And so when I say totally enraptured, not until the first 10 or 15 minutes. Like visually stunning, but I was like, okay, I'm kind of waiting to care. And then that did start to happen very quickly. But there were certain scenes where I was like, I kind of feel like you're just taking your time because it's Blade Runner and you're supposed to take your time. I think this movie could have been 15, 20 minutes shorter.
Okay.
I really do. But other than that, I'm trying to remember if there's any other major criticisms I wanted to lob at. I was going to say the same thing you did about the female replicant that is kind of in the bad guy place from the Rutger Hauer character in the first one. It's really impressive in being a sequel that isn't hitting all the same beats as the first movie. It's not being that movie again, but it is the same kind of film, and that's impressive. I kind of didn't expect that. I kind of thought I really expected this to be much more commercial.
The commercial film.
Not at all. I expected it to be much more kind of handholdy and accessible, and kind of trying to get general audiences. Like I mentioned Tron Legacy earlier. I kind of expected that because like the first Tron movie is not a real accessible for everybody kind of movie, but Tron Legacy suddenly becomes like a big action movie. This doesn't do that. It's just more Blade Runner. And I like again that it's still a detective film, and it's still got those noir qualities about it. But it takes, and I also appreciate that it a lot of the subtlety in its like symbolism and ideas while taking some of those ideas that it kind of had more in the background in the first movie and bringing them more to the forefront. You and I had a conversation today after watching the original.
Yeah, because I came upstairs and you were watching it, and I sat down. I watch Blade Runner maybe once a year. It's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, we had a conversation after that about how that movie doesn't really go into very much like whether or not the replicants have souls, and this one kind of opens with that. It seems to intentionally. It's just a really smart movie in how it is a sequel, right? Where it seems like they looked at that first movie and they said, what is there but could be brought to the fore and we could explore a lot more.
And there's a bunch of stuff that I thought we hit that felt like, which, like it's authenticating that it's Blade Runner. It's not like we did all new stuff. We hit enough stuff from the old, in certain ways that felt like it was still the same universe, like not the same beats or necessarily the exact same thing, but like reminiscent of earlier ideas, or earlier things.
Like the world has evolved.
Yeah, it's 30 years later.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely feeling it too. I feel like I need more time with this movie. I need another watch. This is definitely one of those movies where you should just watch it and let it wash over you, and then really get into the ideas and the stuff that it's exploring. The big question, I don't want to give away too much about this movie, so I'm going to kind of pose a question to you, and then you and I can talk about it later. But maybe we can address it cryptically for anybody that's actually seen this movie already. The big thing that you always wondered about the original movie, I don't know if it's even addressed here.
I think it's completely ambiguous, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it is too. What else do you want to talk about? Anything else you want to bring out?
Can I tell you something that's gonna make you mad?
Yeah.
Because I was looking stuff up like right before we did this video.
Sure.
So, I think first of all I want to say I think this movie makes a great case for like checking in on this universe like every like 20 to 30 years.
Yeah.
Like in like 20 years, we should make another movie.
But my worry is it's going to be too critically acclaimed, it's going to make too much money, and they're going to rush another one in 3 or 4 years.
Ridley Scott has announced that much like Prometheus, this will have 4 sequels.
Yeah, and again, without giving away anything that happens toward the end, I left the theater going, they're going to make another one. Like they're going to put one out like 2020.
But what I liked about the ending was I liked the idea of not making another movie for another like 20 years. And coming back and going, okay, and now how does it look different?
Yeah, but there's one particular thing that I thought they'd do that they didn't that made me immediately go, yeah, they're going to rush another one out.
I know what you're talking about. Because is it the thing we said before we went there?
Yeah, we said that's going to happen. It didn't happen. And you can't wait 20 years with that. This is fun. We're being really cryptic.
I'm not against a sequel if it's of the same quality as this film.
Yeah. Yeah, and bring this director back.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he is to Ridley Scott's most assuredly.
I agree. Yeah. So I'm kind of not. I really like this as a standalone piece, and I'm fine with the ending as it is.
Yeah.
I think this movie works completely on its own. I don't need any more. If there are more, they need to keep the quality control up. This can't be a cranked out thing.
Yeah, and I think it could. It runs the risk of falling into that Prometheus Alien Covenant problem of so often to just make you question things and not actually answer anything. I'm not saying this movie does that, but I think you could easily run into that. I mean, that could be what ends up happening. Just to keep wetting people's palate. Like that's the only reason we make movies, just to wet people's palate. Like this is a real story beginning, middle to end.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, it's a real movie for adults. It's a genre film for adults. It's so refreshing.
Really cool cast. I was excited about some kind of cameos and like guest star spots that I wasn't expecting. Edward James Olmos is in this movie.
Yeah,
I didn't know he was going to be there.
I never even thought, like, well, he's still alive. Maybe they'll get him back. Like, it never occurred to me.
Yeah, that was great. I didn't expect to see him. There were a couple other things here and there. Like I said, let me reiterate what I think is my most important point with this movie, which is it's like Fury Road in that this could have been made at any time. Yeah. With the exception of, I guess, some special effects that you couldn't do now. But, like, it's not made for a modern audience. It's made for people that like Blade Runner.
Yeah,
like,
this could have come out in 1985.
Yeah. And I just think that's really impressive. Now, when I go back and look at it, I imagine we'll find things where there's commentary that you wouldn't think to make until you got to now. But just as far as like what the movie looks like and what's coming out of people's mouths, like it doesn't feel too modern compared to the first one.
Although it's not concerned with being commercial or super accessible to mainstream audience. It's not. This is not necessarily a mainstream film.
I will say it goes more violent than Blade Runner did. It's rougher than that film. It's a little bit more profane than that film was.
But did you notice it was one character?
Was it one character?
It's just Robin Wright.
Oh, okay.
She's the only person I know say the F-bomb. And she says it every scene she's in.
And I was going to mention Robin Wright. Man, she's this has been her year, yeah. Like, because she was also in Wonder Woman.
Well, we should.
And the new season of House of Cards was pretty good, and she had obviously major things to do in that. So like, this has been her year.
Well, since you brought that up, I want to mention what we discovered in the car. This is written by Michael Green.
Mm-hmm.
This is Michael Green's year.
Yeah.
He wrote Logan. He wrote this. He wrote, what were the other two? There were 4 this year. He has story credit on Alien Covenant, but not screenplay credit. And there was something else.
I forget what else it was. Yeah,
it was something else huge.
Yeah.
Like, and he also wrote American Gods this year. This is Michael Green's year. It's his big coming out party. He's gonna make sure everyone knows
he's made some big strides since Smallville and Heroes.
Yeah,
most certainly. Well, anyway, everybody, thanks so much for watching. We sure appreciate it. We are feeling it. Definitely recommending this movie.
Absolutely.
If you don't like sitting through long and like really deliberately paced films, make sure to like drink some Mountain Dews before you go see this movie. I'm not saying
the first one first.
It's not boring if you're into it, but I could see this movie putting certain people to sleep with different sensibilities than ours.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
Just go try to watch the first one.
Yeah.
If you think that's boring, this movie's probably not for you. It is.
Yeah,
it's more of that movie.
Yeah, definitely. folks. We sure appreciate it. And we will see you again tomorrow with another video. And then we'll be back with you on Monday.
And then the next day after that.
No, then we'll be back
no,
with you on Monday.
And the day after Monday. And the day after that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Anyway, I am Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
We'll see you later, folks.